Well, hello again. Just thought I'd show another cool little tank I made. Not really a little tank at all. Actually quite a big tank. This is my Colossus super heavy tank. I just wanted to make a tank that mounts a 203mm howitzer. I made this actually a while ago. This is one of the middle versions of it. Firing extremely heavy low velocity HE shells. Let me see if I can get it to reload here for a second. It uses two medium electric engines and has extremely heavy armor, 200mm at the front, weighing in at over 150 tons. Now, you might look at this thing and be like, what the fuck's that? It doesn't have track covers, it looks like shit. Well, it kinda does. So I decided to upgrade this thing with better engine power and even more armor. Keep in mind this is not supposed to be balanced or anything like that. This is just the heaviest tank, biggest tank I could possibly make. So here's the inside of this tank. It only carries like 14 shells or something. Nice tank. Let's go check out the Colossus XT. Here's my upgraded tank I've been working on recently. I added track covers. I had to space out the road wheels a little bit more because the original Colossus, these road wheels right here, are actually like about right here. So basically if I run into a curb I can't go up it. So that's one of the biggest changes, is that these road wheels have been realigned completely to be stretched out quite a bit more. There's still 6 of them. And then we have track covers, 203mm howitzer still, and we upgraded the power plant because we added a whole bunch of armor to 2 large gas turbine engines. Extremely large amount of power. We also changed our, I think it was a 8-speed transmission to a CVT, just because that the original tank was so slow that it never left first gear ever, except to turn in place where it had to use the 8th gear. Right now it's just got one big box of ammo that only holds like 9 or so rounds. That's actually less ammo than before, but that's just partially because of the layout. I can change that whenever I want, and it doesn't matter for now. We also upgraded to one of Nick's newer tank chips that works better than the other ones. I upgraded my buzzsaw that you saw before with that chip, and it doesn't have that problem with the gun bouncing around anymore. Let's check out the armor layout on this thing, just so you can understand exactly what kind of armor this thing is dealing with. Each wheel weighs 500 pounds, holy cow, if that's any consolation of this thing's weight. The bottom plate actually weighs 14,000. These are just my base plates. And the turret plate weighs 12,000 to support this enormous 203mm howitzer. The total weight for the tank is somewhere around 165 tons. In single player, my thing doesn't work that tells me what it is, so I can't really show you that. Anyway, I actually upgraded the frontal armor to 250mm on this bottom plate. Same with the top. This is sloped a little bit worse, but not much can pen that. And even if it does, boom! You run into another 150mm plate before getting the ammunition. The track covers are 100mm on the sides. If you hit these, you're just going to bounce off. These inside ones are, who's going to hit there? Ooh, the shell went through the outside of my tank. It doesn't matter. And we've got these extremely heavy track covers now. 100mm at the front edge, and then 60mm going back. And then the tops of these are another 30mm. And the main top of the tank is 50mm. I mean, keep in mind these are the top armor values, like 50mm, and these are likely going to go up because the engine actually provides ample torque right now. I think I could raise it. These little side cheeks, these used to be 120, they're raised to 150 now. Shell comes in like this, it's going to bounce off that pretty much no matter what. And this front used to be 200, by the way. Then the front of the turret is 250. That might go up at some point too, but there's really nothing in the turret to protect except the gun, but the gun's gonna get hit, like, who cares. The sides of the turret are 180. So you come up to the side of this thing, you gotta go through a 180 millimeters of armor. You're probably gonna be aiming up like this. I mean, Jesus Christ. You got 50 millimeters on the top and 100 on the back of the turret. And then the actual, like, back of the tank is 80 millimeters on this top piece, which no one, I mean, shorter tanks are going to be firing up like this. They're not going to get through that. If they do, they're probably not going to hit anything in here. Then the bottom is 100 millimeters. This has 100 millimeters of sloped armor on the back. Yeah. 100 millimeters on the sides of the back. The engines in here used to actually be much larger. Like before it had those medium electric engines, which were actually bigger than the large turbine engines. Like, go figure, these have more horsepower and torque. But, like, maybe they're a little bit bigger lengthwise, but there's still plenty of room for them. And the transmission layout I have actually makes there's way more room in the back than they're used to. So, if anyone shoots up here, they're not going to hit anything. We've got 100 millimeters on these little skirts here. That's in case a shell comes in from back here. It'll just bounce off there. 50 millimeters up here, nothing's gonna pen there. Just 30 up here, who's gonna shoot that? And then the sides are 150 all the way down. 150 for side armor is pretty damn strong. And even if you go through the side, as the ammo's here, remember? Only if you hit like right here, you're gonna hit the ammo. Otherwise, you're gonna run into this 200 millimeter plate right on the side there. Nothing is going to hit this ammo from the side. You got only 100 millimeters down here between the tracks, but they're going to have to pound through the 60 millimeter plate, through the tracks, I guess the wheel, whatever you want to call them, then through a 100 millimeter plate, then through a 200 millimeter plate. That's not going to happen with many guns. You're going to have to somehow hit it up here and then hit this, which is going to be almost impossible. And I might actually raise the armor there because that is a pretty glaring weak spot. We already looked at the top of the armor. Anyway, this thing has extremely heavy armor. It can take direct hits from 140 millimeter AT guns and get off scot-free. This is currently rigged with AP-HE ammunition. Extremely heavy rounds. Basically, this thing will destroy like any tank. Currently, the AP-HE it's actually fitted with only has, I believe, 180 millimeters of penetration. So it might have trouble penetrating some tanks, but the HE charge, even on the AP-HE round, is enormous. And it'll just blow tanks away. Let's see here. Let me spawn my... where is it? Here it is. Here's my my Buzzsaw A1 tank. I just upgraded it with the new chip, a new color scheme. Let's turn this thing around and let's see what happens if I take a direct hit from my 203 millimeter howitzer on this tank. That was kind of glitchy. Hang on a second. I'm just going to enter this tank really quick and fix the gun. The turret chip isn't actually engaged when you first spawn it, so I just got to kind of do that. Here we go. How embarrassing. Okay. Hang on a second. This is just going to take 1 second here. I managed to flip my gun over backwards before I actually... Here we go. Now let's get into the tank and fix that. Okay, it's fixed. There we go. See, now it's like perfectly steady. Yeah, before it wasn't like that. Let's see what happens if this tank with its 100 millimeter plate sloped back at an absurd angle gets hit directly by a 203 millimeter howitzer shell. Anyway, Nick's upgraded turret doesn't actually have the, this is like a really early version of this. He completely redesigned it. And basically it doesn't have the zoom or the ammo counter or the reload counter, so this reload might take a while. But since this is an earlier version of the tank, I can actually see the, the little hatch, the breach open on the top of the tank. Anyway, I'm just going to demonstrate this thing's maneuverability really quick. See, it can turn in place. Can turn while driving forward. Anyway, let's shoot this thing. Here we go. Straight up. What did I just miss? What the fuck? Looks like it must have not gone through. Let's see. Let's try to get a better shot on this guy, should we? If that was a normal HE shell, this thing would have basically just flown away. Let's see if we can get a better shot here. Yeah, fuck that ammo, dude. Let's load up some other ammo. I think this this thing might be a little bit messed up. I remember I used to test the 203mm howitzer with AP shells where it gets over 300mm of penetration, but that's a little messed up. Anyway, let's see here. Let's max out our HE load, then let's give it about 100 meters per second out of the barrel. This is how I love having this thing set up. Whoa! Holy shit! You don't realize what just happened? I just accidentally fired the round and blew up the base plate. Maybe I didn't blow up the base plate. It looks like I blew all of the road wheels off of this tank in one shot. There wasn't really an effect there. Let's see if we can respawn this tank and shoot it again so that we can get a little bit better view on that. That was me. I literally just accidentally fired the gun because I didn't realize it was already loaded, and it basically just completely annihilated this tank. See the extremely heavy HE round? It doesn't necessarily destroy the armor on heavier armored tanks, but it blows up everything that could possibly matter and usually flips the tank over. So we're taking advantage of our superior gun depression. The original Colossus did not have 3 degrees gun depression. Yes, this has 3 degrees gun depression. The original Colossus had 1 degree gun depression, so that's a good bonus. Anyway, let's see here. Yep, just blows all the road wheels off. It doesn't even matter if it penetrates. That tank is disabled now. Like, what's it gonna do? It can't even penetrate my tank from the front. You know. Usually these shells right now, my particles don't seem to be working right, but they usually fire in a very large arc. And this is how I like to rig this tank mostly, because the giant arcing shells are epic. Anyway, let's see here. Let's shoot this thing again. Gotta wait for a shell to load, which takes forever, of course, as is expected. Yeah, I think the tank is dead. We just blew up the base prop. This is just shit lying out on the ground. It's done. So, not much can survive a 203mm howitzer shot. Let's go ahead and climb up on top of this. We can show you the incredible torque this tank has. This is about my top speed right here. This is not a fast tank by any stretch of the word. Here we go. I don't know if the torque's enough to climb up those other ones, but it can climb up this one very slowly. Anyway, this is still definitely a work in progress. I might update this video. Once I get to the point where it's colored and stuff like that. Its armor layout right now is definitely not final because the engine can definitely take a lot more. I'm having trouble turning right now. Shit. Oh my god. Well, this is embarrassing. Hang on a second. I can't get my tank to drive up this little hill because of the extreme flaw in using wheels instead of actual tracks. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Here we go. A very slow turret traverse for balance. I have no idea where my particle effects are. Usually there would be an effect showing the shell going woo-doo. But for whatever reason there isn't one. But so you're just gonna have to imagine it for now, especially because this is a work in progress video. Anyway, I really like this tank. Like when I kind of stuttered my last video and said how this is how the Buzzsaw was one of the best tanks I've made, I was thinking of this tank when I retracted that statement. I really, really like this tank with its enormous gun and ridiculous armor protection. It also has horrendous flaws. The original Colossus I'd fight, one of Nick's super light, fast. He made an ELC AMX, if you are familiar with World of Tanks. And that would actually beat this tank because even though it had trouble penetrating the back of this tank, he could get under its gun depression, and then you're just screwed. Its gun depression's only 3 degrees. That tank, it was only 1 degree, so it's improved a little bit. So this is mostly a long-range fighter. That's probably a little ridiculous. It's not really a long-range fighter, it's more of like a an assault kind of tank. So like, you know, it's supposed to be fighting other heavy tanks or fortifications and stuff. But the frontal armor is ridiculous. And it's extremely slow. And I guess that's basically it. I don't really have anything else to say. It definitely is one of my favorite tanks. And so anyway, have fun building and try to make a super heavy tank of your own. It's a lot of fun.